So I'm going to be demoing PlanGrid today from my iPad. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, you can use us on any Apple device, any Android device, very soon any Windows device. I happen to be using the iPad today simply because it's the device I'm most familiar with. When I open the PlanGrid app, you can see that there are two sections, projects on the device and projects in the cloud. And if projects are in the cloud, that's exactly what it sounds like. Nothing's cached here locally. That could be a project that maybe I'm finished with and I took it off my device so it's not taking up any storage space, or maybe it's a new project I've just been added to and haven't started yet, but it's not taking up any of my data storage on my device. Projects on the device I've downloaded here. Everything's cached locally, which gives me a big benefit. If I don't have a cell plan on this device and I'm on a job site where I don't have Wi-Fi, I have everything right here. I can continue to work, make annotations, queue up emails, whatever I may need to do within PlanGrid. As soon as I get back to a Wi-Fi signal, everything's going to sync. Everything that I did is going to push out to my colleagues on my project team. Everything they did is going to be downloaded to my device. Let me open up a particular project here. Three very important things happen during the initial upload of the drawing set, so let me talk about those. First of all, I mentioned that we are built for speed and for rapid load time. One of the ways that we accomplish that is that we actually pre-render every detail in the drawing set during that initial upload. So you see I'm clicking down into drawings, and as I zoom into tiny, tiny details, everything's already there. Every detail, every letter and number, so there's no load time. Secondly, the system is actually built to recognize, read, and hyperlink all your callout details. So if I click one of these callout details, you see I get a pop-up with the reference sheet. I can then tap the sheet, go and work with that drawing, and then go back where I was. And just to emphasize, I didn't set this up. No PlanGrid administrator set this up. The system actually did that for you during that initial project upload for every single callout detail in the system. Thirdly, you'll notice that all of my sheet names are appended in the lower right-hand corner. Those are all indexed during the initial upload. That's very important because later in the project, when you get another drawing, you don't have to worry about exactly how to leaf it in. You simply add it to the system. We use OCR technology to read that sheet name. The system then essentially asks itself, is this a brand new drawing, in which case it's simply going to add it to the project, or is this actually a sheet name that already exists in the index, so I know this is a revision to an existing sheet, and the system's going to leaf it in for you. So for example, if I look at sheet E2.03, you'll see there's a small gray badge with a 2 in it there. That tells me, without even clicking into the sheet, there have been 2 versions of this sheet. Now that's just an example. You could have uploaded 25 or 125. As you do so, they're going to be leafed in chronological order, and that number is going to be updated so you know how many versions you have. If I want access to those older versions, I've got that a couple of different ways. If I click into the drawing, because I'm using a touchscreen device, I can simply swipe up. The system's then going to tell me it's loaded an older version of the drawing. If you look in the lower right-hand corner, I've got a not current badge. So as long as I'm on this older version, the system's telling me it's not current, so I'm not going to build or take any other action that I'm going to regret and have to tear out later. And I can simply swipe back and forth for a comparison between those 2 versions. The other place that I have access to older versions is up in my filing cabinet, up in the upper right-hand corner. A lot of very useful things here that I'm going to be talking about through the demo. But for the moment, you'll notice in the lower right-hand corner of the pop-up, I have my versions. If I go there, they're listed for me here, and I can go back to any older version just by tapping on it. Once again, the system tells me it's loaded an older version and gives me my not current badge. I'm going to click into a drawing and show you some of our annotations and markups capabilities. So down the right-hand side of the screen, you'll notice that I have a toolbar. Every icon on that toolbar is very intuitive. They're all exactly what they look like. So frankly, even if you've never seen PlanGrid before, I could probably hand you my iPad, let you play with that toolbar for 5 minutes. You'd know exactly what everything on there is. Let me just point out a few things. You do have a color palette so that you can do markups in contrasting colors for easy visibility. And you may want to do things like select the cloud, do a cloud on the drawing. You can use an arrow to point out particular details. You might want to do some highlighting. You can actually do free-form drawing. T stands for text or type, so you can actually select the text tool and put a note right on the drawing. Since this happens to be a bathroom area, I'm just going to use an example and say check for ADA access. As you can see, once I've typed it, the note appears right on the drawing. Now once I've done that, made those annotations, this is what we call a personal annotation or a local annotation. It's on my device and my copy of the drawings only. Nobody else on my project team can see this. But we've given you a number of ways to share information out. First of all, if I've been given the right permission level, I can actually push these annotations to the master set and update everybody on my project team. Once again, that's keyed to certain permission levels, so you as the customer can decide who can do this. But if I've been given that permission, I would go up to the top of the toolbar, grab my lasso. The lasso grabs everything it touches, so I'm just going to swipe and grab my annotations. Notice I then get a pop-up where I can do things like copy the annotation and move it to other drawings, so I can put it on several different sheets if I want. But I also have the option to push to the master set. So if I click that, my entire project team is updated. A few other ways that you can share information from an annotation that you've made. If you look in the upper right hand corner, I've got the standard sharing icon, and I can do things like make a snapshot, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's an image of what's showing on my screen at the time. Once I've made that snapshot, as you'll notice, I can email it out to anybody, whether they're on my project team or not, or I can save it to my snapshots queue. All my snapshots and progress photos for the entire project roll up to one place. I could also make a PDF of the entire sheet if I want to capture the whole thing rather than just what's showing on my screen. Or I can even make a PDF packet. A PDF packet's really neat because it combines the snapshot we were just talking about with the photo. If I happen to be on the job site, I'm standing here using PlanGrid on a device that has a camera built right into it, why not capture a picture? Then I can push out in a PDF packet via email to whoever needs to see the drawing with the annotation as well as a picture of what that looks like in the built world. So I'm pushing out very rich detail. Let me go back up now to the top level of the drawings. There are a few things here that make more sense once you've seen the annotation tools. So for instance, you'll notice that some of my drawings have a big red dot under them. That's a personal or a local annotation. Wherever I see that big red dot, I know when I look at the annotation on the drawing, I'm the only one who can see it. It's not been pushed out to my project team. If you look at sheet AV200 though, you see a little crown, also AV700. The crown means master. That means the annotation on that sheet's been pushed out to the master set. So when I drill into that sheet, look at the annotation, I know that everybody on my project team can also see it. The other icon I would draw your attention to here is the paperclip. That's pretty universal, so you can probably guess that it stands for an attachment. You can actually put documents in PlanGrid and attach them to the relevant drawing. So if I select one of the drawings that has that paperclip and click into it, I can see there's a cloud here and a note. There's an RFI that's relevant for this drawing. If I tap the cloud, the RFI pops up. I can actually go to the document, read it. If you're the kind of person who likes to do things like underline, highlight, mark up documents that are relevant for you, we give you some editing tools to do that, and you're able to mark up your copy of the document without affecting anybody else's. And once you're finished with that document, you can close out of it and go back to the drawing that you were on. Now, the great thing about this is any document that would be useful out in the field can be PDF'd, stored in PlanGrid, and hyperlinked to the drawings. So I always encourage my customers at the beginning of a project to think through everything that would be useful. These may be cut sheets, shop drawings, spec manuals, whatever would be useful to hyperlink to the sheet, load it up in PlanGrid. There's no limit to the attachments. It's not part of our pricing model, so it's not going to cost you any more to load up lots of attachments. So put them in there so that they're useful. You have all your attachments in one place here in the filing cabinet, but as I just showed you, they can also be hyperlinked to the sheet. If you want to attach a document to a sheet in that way, here's how you would do it. You select your paper airplane icon. You then get a pop-up allowing you to select the type of cloud you would like to use. You select that cloud and place it right on the drawing. You then get a pop-up asking if you want to link another sheet, an attachment, or an RFI. For purposes of the demonstration, I'm just going to say attachments. You select the document that you want, click Done, and you've just created a hyperlinked document. Now, I always do recommend that you then use the text tool to go in and put a big note like the one you see here so people will know what's there and why they should care about it. Now I mentioned the attachments, I mentioned RFIs. So some of our customers have a legacy tool that they already use by company policy, or that they're obligated to use for some other reason, in which case they can simply upload the finalized RFI to attachments and hyperlink it the way I said. But if you don't have a legacy tool that you're obligated to use, we've actually built a full cycle RFI tool right into PlanGrid. You can not only attach RFIs, you can actually create them and run the RFI process from scratch within PlanGrid. So if I go up to my filing cabinet and click RFI log, I've got a list of my existing RFIs, but if you look in the upper right hand corner, I can also create a new RFI. When I tap each of these fields, I get the pop-up keyboard so that I can give the RFI a title, put it in whatever status I need for it to be in, assign it out to a member of my project team, assign dates. I can put in my question. There's a space for the person responsible for the RFI to put in the answer. And I can also include references. What's a reference? An attachment, a snapshot, or a photo. So the great thing about our RFI tool is not only that the RFIs can be linked to the drawings quickly and easily, but the richness of information I'm able to present when I ask my question. So my architect, my engineer, whoever's going to be answering my RFI, rather than just getting an email, rather than just getting a multi-tab spreadsheet with a bunch of questions in it, and you have to go back and forth on the phone with clarifying questions, you burn up a lot of time responding to the RFI. Using PlanGrid's tools, instead of that process, when I present the RFI, they're getting not only my question, but they're getting a snapshot with my annotations marked up on the drawing, and they're getting a photo of what things look like in the actual physical world. So a lot of rich content. They know right away what my question is, and they're able to give me a highly detailed answer, which I can then hyperlink to the drawing. Now, if you're on a very large project and there is a subset of sheets that you're going to want to come back to over and over, you may not want to scroll and scroll to get back to those same sheets every time. So we give you a nice filtering tool here in the upper left-hand corner so that you can quickly and easily come back to a subset of sheets that you know you want to use over and over. You can tag your sheets and do things like come back to sheets within a particular discipline. Let's say I just want to see my electrical sheets. I put on that filter, and as you can see, the change is immediate. I've been brought simply to those 5 sheets that comprise my electricals. You can also combine these filters however you want. So let me say I want to see my electricals with master annotations. There's only one in the set, so I'm immediately pulled down to that one drawing. If I ever want to go back up to my entire drawing set, all I have to do is take my filters off, and I've got the whole drawing set again. Now you'll notice there's a My Tag section on the filtering tool, so you can actually set up custom tags that are specific to you as an individual, specific to your company, specific to certain aspects of the project. However you want to do it, once you set up the tag and tag those sheets, you'll have it here to use as a filter. So through the life of the project, if you know I'm going to come back to these same 10 sheets over and over, very easy for me to click once and come back to that subset of sheets. Let me show you a little bit about our punch list capability. Now when I say punch list, when I say issues tracking, I'm actually talking about the exact same feature set. We built this to be a punch list tool, but our customers, once we released it out into the world, have found all sorts of creative uses for it. So the bottom line is the feature that I'm about to show you can be used for any types of issues that you want to track, mark on the drawing, and run reports on. And here's how you use it. Come over to your toolbar and select the boxing glove signifying punch. You then have a list of stamps for all the different types of issues that you may want to track. You can actually add to this list your own custom stamps. So if there's a type of issue that's unique to your company or to the project, you can even create a stamp with your initials if you want to tie issues to yourself personally. You would simply put in the 1 or 2 letter abbreviation, name the stamp, and then it would appear here on the list. When you want to create the issue, you select the type of stamp corresponding to the type of issue, tap to place it on the drawing. You're then given a pop-up where you can associate all sorts of useful information with that issue. So I can set the status to whatever I'd like. Now if I'm the person to whom an issue is assigned, I can advance that status to in review or pending, but I can't close it. Only the person who created it or another administrator can close it. You can indicate where it exists in the project, assign it out to any member of your project team, input your verbal description with the keyboard, and then you can actually add a photo. Once again, I'm standing here on site looking at an issue that needs to be addressed. I've got a mobile device in my hand. I can take a picture so that when the issue is assigned to somebody, they're getting a lot of really rich content. They're getting my verbal description, they're getting the photo, they're getting the markup on the drawing with my annotations. So they know exactly what the issue is and how to go about addressing it. What our customers tell us is that using PlanGrid, the life cycle of resolving the issue tends to get shorter and shorter over time because of the richness of content that you're pushing out. So that's an overview of PlanGrid. Thank you very much for your time. And what other questions can I answer for you that I haven't addressed already?